Okay, we are going to go over questions 15 through 18 on the overlapping triangles homework. Number 15, let's look at first. So what do we want to prove? We want to prove that RST is this thing right here is congruent to UTS, this thing right here. So they're together. First thing I want to do is draw them separately to make them a little easier for me to digest. So RST is going to be this. And over here, I'm going to draw STU. Now, what do I know? I know that RS is congruent to UT. What else do I know? I know that RT is congruent to US. All right. And there is a third side that is congruent. And you can probably see if you look up here, they share a sign. That's why they're called overlapping triangles, and that's what this lesson is about, overlapping triangles. So we're going to see this a lot. So ST and ST, as their name suggests, are going to be congruent sides. So we can prove that ST is congruent to ST, SU is congruent to RT, and we know that SR is congruent to TU. And those are three sides, so we know these two triangles are congruent by the side theorem. And that's all we had to do for number 15. It was a fairly easy question. Let's look at number 16. And as these questions go, they get a little harder as they go. So, question number 16. Prove that triangle QDB, so QDA, is congruent to UAD. This triangle right here. So they are overlapping, so I'm going to redraw them. I redraw them as a strategy so that I can see them a little clearer. Right away we see that DA and DA are overlapping sides, so they're going to be congruent. Now let's see what we know. We know QD is congruent to UA. And we know that angle QDA, this angle right here, is congruent to angle UAD. That angle right there. And as mentioned before, I know that DA equals DA. They're a pair of overlapping sides. So I can prove that these two triangles are congruent by QD is congruent to UA. That's a side. Angle QDA is congruent to angle UAD. That's an angle. And DA is congruent to DA. That's a side. So these are congruent by the side angle side theorem. Not too hard. Let's look at number 17. So now here's where we're getting a little more difficult. What do we want to prove? We want to prove that QET is congruent to QEU. That triangle is congruent to that triangle. So I'm going to draw this in steps. First, I'm going to draw these triangles, the ones that I'm trying to prove. Okay. And let's see what I know. Do I know anything at all yet? I know angle 1 equals angle 2. That's not in these triangles. I know that angle 3 equals angle 4, which is this right here and this right here. So that's just about all that I know. And I could also see that, hey, QE is going to equal QE, right? They're both equal to each other. So I know those two things, but I don't know enough information to tell me that those two triangles are congruent. I'm going to have to do something else. I just know that these angles over here are congruent, but these angles are not part of the green triangles, so I'm going to have to split these triangles up a different way. Maybe I can look at these triangles right here, these bigger arching triangles. So let's try redrawing these pink triangles. I'm going to draw them right here. big pink triangles. So this is Q, this is Q, this is T, this is U, and this is B, this is B. All right, I know that this is angle 1 and this angle 2, and they're congruent to each other. I know that these two angles, 3 and 4, are congruent to each other. And I also know that they share this side right here, QB. QB is congruent to QB. So, did I prove that these big pink triangles are congruent? I'm trying to zoom out so you can see. Yes, I did. How did I prove it? I proved that I can say that triangle QTB is congruent to triangle QUB because, how did I prove it? I have an angle. What angle is that? The angle is TQB, and that angle is congruent to UQB. I have a side. QB is congruent to QB. And I have another angle here, TBQ, which is congruent to angle UBQ. So by angle, side angle, I have proved that those two triangles are congruent. And you might be asking, why am I proving that these two triangles are congruent? Why am I doing all that work if that's not giving me an answer or not helping me? The reason I'm doing all that work is because now I know that these two triangles are congruent. That means that this side is going to be congruent to that side. That also means that this side is going to be congruent to that side. So now I can take all this information and see if it helps me with these two triangles over here. And it does. It tells me that T to B is congruent to U to B. Does that help me here? No, it doesn't actually. Let's look at the other side. QT is congruent to QU, and that does help me. QT is congruent to QU. So these pink sides that I found are to be congruent are the same pink sides over here. And now we have enough information to prove that these two triangles are congruent. See, we have a side, and we have an angle, and we have a side, we have a side, we have an angle, and we have a side. So we proved that these are two congruent. Now I'm just going to write and do all the work. I'm going to say that QT is congruent to QU. That's a side. The angle is going to be angle TQE. That's congruent to UQE. That's an angle. And the last side is QE is congruent to itself. That's the side. So by side angle side theorem, I have proved that these two triangles are congruent. So a little bit more work on that one. We had to draw more than one pair of triangles. We had to do a little bit of proving, a little bit more work than the other two. Let's look at the last one that, as you can imagine, might have a little more work. They get progressively harder as we go. 18. What are we trying to prove? We're trying to prove that ADC is congruent to EDG. Let me actually pause the video here because it's getting a little long and I want to make sure this uploads. So I'll start part 2 in a second.